Hi, everyone, and welcome to a slightly delayed edition of Seal of Approval. Apologies that there wasn't any episodes last week, but we're back. We're back, albeit slightly delayed, because we've got seals to discuss and we've got news to discuss, and maybe there might be a combination of the two. But joining me, as always, is my trusty Scrump.
Yes, we've got seal. You missed it there. You could have said we've got seals to approve.
Oh, we do. Oh my god!
Missed the trick there.
Oh god damn it!
See, that's why I'm here. That's why I'm here. I missed the things you. Sorry, I catch the thing. God damn it! Now I'm doing it. No, I catch the things you miss. Oh, we're all not in good shape today, but.
Oh Christ!
Got a large cup of tea here, so I should get better.
So how are you feeling today?
Pretty good. I'm just having trouble getting workmen out during this pandemic shit.
Oh.
A lot of people are either furloughed or the people who aren't furloughed are busy. So it's kind of odd. It's everything's slightly more inconvenient, and it's very annoying. But I'm doing okay. I'm doing as well as I can be.
Oh. And joining us, I think it's the first time on a proper seal of approval in a while, my good friend Proper Horror Show. How are you, love?
Hey, y'all. And hey, chat. How's everyone doing?
Yes.
Hello, glad to have you back. And so before we jump into the seals that might have brought us some news, I've got something quite important to share. Something which I think, hopefully people might actually appreciate, because there's going to be a new addition to the Rose of Dawn cinematic universe fairly soon, and I want to give you all a sneak
Rose
peek.
of Dawn Endgame.
Look,
Infinity Pause.
The
Look
Infinity
at her.
Paulet, yes. Pauntlet? That doesn't really work. She's very cute though.
she is so she is a Maine Coon, which are some of the, I think they're the biggest kind of house cat that you can really get. That isn't
apart from wild crossbreeds, yes, they are.
Yeah. She is unbelievably fluffy, and she comes from like a nice, healthy family. And I'm going to be picking her up on Friday. And her name is Cami. So say hi to Cami, everyone. I want to see chat doing a salute to who will be the new overlord of this channel.
Yes. Please say hello to Cami.
This little cat.
The Cami guys.
So yeah,
it's a Cami cameo.
So like I've been wanting to get a cat or something for a while, and the other week when one of my dogs passed away, her name is Belle. She is originally from Turkey, and reason why she came over here is there's a charity that's called Happy Paws that rescue golden retrievers that have been abused in places such as Turkey and Bulgaria. And they then kind of bring them over to the UK. So it's some sort of like underground railroad of chunky dogs that are just kind of bought over. And she'd had a very difficult life, but we took her in. Let's say she was living with my parents, but your parents' dog, it's still your dog.
Yes, it is still
your dog.
Still a family dog.
It's because the dogs are part of the family. It's not like you're getting a fish. Like dogs and cats are like and horses. I would say they're the three kind of family animals: dogs, cats, and horses. But yeah, we had her for a couple of years, and sadly, she passed away the other week. She's very sad, but getting this little kitten has like really, really helped. So on Friday, I get to pick her up, and she'll be my best friend, and she's just going to be spoiled rotten. And basically, all super chats are basically just going to go to lavish this cat. So all super chats are going to a good cause.
Going to Cami. I have a question though. Was she already called Cami, or did you call her?
No,
Cami?
I named her Cami.
Why did you call her Cami? Is that after Cami from Street Fighter? Or...
Lots of people are saying that, actually. Like, no, it's short for chamomile.
Okay. So her full name is... You should call her Princess Chamomile. As a full... Like cats have show names.
Yes.
Princess Chamomile.
But yeah, well, like, if she was named after Cami from Street Fighter, it's still not a bad thing. Like, I didn't want to give her, like, a purposely geeky name, though. Like... Because I do think a lot of that's quite cringe when you have people like naming their like dogs Thanos. Like I just wanted
one of the nicest dogs I knew was called Diva.
Diva?
That's
Diva
terrible,
dog.
Scrump.
Oh,
That's terrible.
God.
What? He was a nice dog.
Jesus Christ. Well, so anyway, that's Cami, guys. So you'll be seeing a lot more of her in the future. But now we need to move on and go and see some friends of ours that, you know, they've had a week off despite lockdown. They've been able to go on holiday. They haven't told Priti Patel or Matt Hancock, but they're back. They haven't
illegal seal holidays.
They haven't been forced to go into the government's ridiculously overpriced hotels. So seals of news. Look, there's the seals of news, guys.
Hello, seals.
Hello. So Chloe, you can pick a seal.
Oof. Maybe should we ease? Can we ease ourselves in with trans stupid?
We can do. So there's two very specific stories when it comes to trans stupid this week. Like until I kind of get Trans Stupid properly rolling as like a weekly series again, which probably will happen in the future. But you can always kind of cover the stupidity on the show because, you know, stupidity is intersectional and all that. So Chloe, you know what this first story is going to be. Because I think you or your girlfriend was one of the ones who made me aware of it.
Yeah. So the fantastic, well, there it is. Diva magazine is one of the UK's magazine for, well, it was for lesbian and bi women, and then it was for queer women, and now it's for people who bleed.
Yes.
They have recently, you might form something for a niche audience, but then sometimes, you gotta broaden your appeal, like when Vegan Life started selling, bacon tips and the best way to kick a frog. Diva magazine has decided to feature a whole lot of dong. This magazine's got a really nice feature on Ros Kavney, who I'm sure their traditional readership is really keen to hear from. And
Wait,
they put...
I'm confused. This whole people who bleed, are they going the TERF direction or are they going the intersectional direction?
This
is so retarded, I can't
Look
tell.
at the hijab. Where do you think they're going?
I know, but they might be...
So like we've got a blind person, we've got a hijab, we've got a black man, we've got a wheelchair bound user, and then you've got I'm gonna guess that person there and kind
Jeff.
of like there's Jeff.
Where's the super mutant?
Like I'm guessing that person's non-binary. That person's non-binary.
It's a terrible joke.
It's like so I just what I find amazing about this is like they want to use language that's as inclusive as it possibly can. And the phrase people who bleed literally includes any human on the planet. Like unless that you are some sort of super mutant that has acid instead of blood. This includes you. Because I can understand what they mean. Right. I can understand what they mean because they are clearly going for, rather than just saying like women have periods, they want to use something like menstruator, but that might be too big a word. We have words like people of color, people of size. So why not people who bleed?
People of size. Is that people with big dicks then?
People of size is basically land whales and ham planets.
Oh, is it the fat people?
It says the fats. This is the fatties. Yeah, that is an actual phrase. A person of size, because they don't just want to say morbidly obese tankards. But
I threw in the reference to the Super Mutant and Jeff because if anyone hasn't seen it, I'm gonna. Can I shill for you, Rose? It's not necessary, maybe, but your favorite video of mine is the one you did on a wonderful little book called Girl Sex 101.
I was laughing because I remember that. Yes, I get the reference.
Girl Sex 101 is a guide for woman on woman sex and has more dong than you would reasonably expect from that. And I would just go and watch Rose's old video on it. It's an absolute classic and it's brilliant, and it just reminds me of exactly this.
Like just to kind of put into perspective how old this video is. That was my 2,000 subscriber special. Like that's how far ago it is in the like kind of the Rose of Dawn history. That was a video I loved to do them because that
wasn't even so long ago though.
No, it was almost 2 years ago at this point.
Jeez.
But like that Girl Sex 101 book is honestly it's one of the best kind of examples of what intersectionality does to destroy a community. I mean, even by the name Girl Sex 101, you would assume this is a book for lesbians. You wouldn't assume there to be equal to the amount of vaginas in there, the amount of penises. Like there is a ridiculous amount of dick in it. Like it's not over exaggerating here. It is filled with pictures of dick. Like when they have this, like I want to see if I can find it, the picture of all the different people who are women, which is oh god. Here it is. Here it is.
I just posted the link in chat for. Don't watch it now, folks. Watch it after this. But that is a treat for you.
Right. So, at the risk of getting the stream taken down, I am just going to show it because screw everything. I think you guys have got to see this. So, if you haven't already seen the video, these are the example of women's bodies in Girl Sex 101. And yes, they're going to be women's bodies because it's Girl Sex 101. Oh, but this one's actually in color. So the previous one wasn't like the one in the book is black and white. But this is, we get to see a full rainbow of different people. So you've got like your butch lesbian, you've got someone who looks like Jess Bradley, you've got like Fat Velma. There's this that got the super mutants.
Fat Velma. Sorry, I've forgotten how funny this is.
Like the midget, the like just barrel body, the dog.
Oh, the fucking dog! The fucking dog! I remember that.
The dog, like all of these women's bodies, like it genuinely reads like a parody. Like, where is the grizzled sea captain? Oh yeah, there he is.
Yarr.
Bottom left is amazing.
Oh, the guy with the hook for the leg. Like they got so many here. Like fucking Jeff. I keep on forgetting about Jeff. It's like this like spread of women's bodies, and you just have just a guy.
It's Jeff. Okay, Jeff's a woman. Stop saying Jeff isn't a woman. That's transphobic.
Presenting your next Labour all-women shortlist.
Okay, I gotta say, people who bleed. I'll send you on Discord, but people who bleed sounds like a fucking black metal band.
Now,
tell me it doesn't.
You would hope with that title that a fair few people responded with a nice little GIF from Christ. What's it called? Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. Do you bleed?
Oh God.
And yeah, I'd like to tell you they did, but I can't because Diva had to delete all the comments. Can you imagine?
It's that Tumblr art style as well. It's ugly people doing ugly things with ugly beliefs.
Yeah. It is corporate art, of course, but yeah, this did not go down well with the readership, and they had to delete all the comments and then start again. And it sent me onto a little bit of a rabbit hole trying to find out how the new woke take has affected Diva's readership. I have completely failed to find any sales figures.
Probably because there aren't any.
Well, if anyone has ideas on how you can get that information, I would like to know, but my research did not come to anything, alas.
Right, so this is actually a specific group called Genderless Menstrual Leave. So menstrual leave for all people who bleed. So, they're kind of progressing with the women should have time off when they menstruate.
Yeah, but
it should just be general, it should just be kind of worked in as part of the contract. They'll still get paid the same amount as men. They just get more days off. But then this wants it for anyone who bleeds. Now, again, what if I bleed? Everyone on this stream bleeds. It's useless. It's absolutely useless that this is an actual campaign. It is parody. They've got all these intersectional pictures in there, and it just reads like a parody.
It does. It feels like someone's trying to demonstrate the absurdity of reconciling all these competing agendas into one ideology.
Yeah.
Because it's latching on to the old 1980s and 90s women need time off when they menstruate thing, which really just plays into the idea that women are weak and useless and not very good in your workforce. But I digress. But yeah, it's that idea, but transplanted into the ultra woke intersectionality. They're saying nothing is a woman, but you have to define quote unquote people who bleed. It's the whole thing of that's like the mainstream left in the UK has had to back off the trans stuff really hard after the last election. In fact, it was kind of almost used as a scapegoat for Jeremy Corbyn and his chancellor was John McDonnell being actual communists. But it is an unpopular issue, and a lot of women here in the UK, especially, are like, well, why can't you just say woman? Because there are men and there are women, which is now an extremely controversial statement to say. Men have, men don't have periods, women do. It's really, really straightforward baby stuff. And just like, you've not read advanced biology. It's like, shut up, Todd.
I'd say it's also that it's really okay. My problem with this is that it's so poorly judged because it is effectively a huge step back from a reasonable position. So someone transitions, and I think that the average person is like, okay, cool. So Jeff is now going to have, be addressed as Mr. Jeff, and no one has any problem with that. Jeff's going to, dress in the appropriate doodly fashion. No one has any problem with that, and everyone is accepting and treating Jeff as a man, right?
Yes.
And now once someone has done that, both convenient and courteous thing, someone has taken that and then said, well, if you're saying Jeff is a man, then we now need you to rename maternal leave. You're going to have to go for people who bleed because you don't want to exclude Jeff. And I don't know if Jeff ever wanted this at any point.
No.
But it's like
I did ask for this. It's like Deus Ex up in here.
Jeff did nothing wrong, but this was a courteous accommodation that has been then taken into a ridiculous place. Yeah. And it's going to force people back to a hard line. Yeah. Like if you're gonna be making these points, if you're gonna have what's his name, Freddie, who is a trans man who got pregnant and gave birth, say that he wants to be listed as the father and not the mother. Yeah. It's like if you are gonna push this to absurd results, you're obviously gonna see a snapback to the hard line.
Yeah, and
no one wants that.
And the thing is, we see this in the other side as well. Speaking from own personal experience here, whenever they talk about saying oh, women have babies, and they don't want to use that kind of phrase because it leaves out trans women, or because trans women can't give birth. So you can't say that women give you can't say that women have babies because you're excluding parts of womanhood who can't do that. And I think that Me personally, I would rather people were to kind of look at me and just not really kind of think or care about any of that. Like I know I can't biologically give birth. I'm fine with that. Like, 'cause I'm just living a normal, happy life. I don't need people to kind of redefine what a woman is so I can fit in, because I already know what a woman is. I wouldn't have transitioned to being a woman if I didn't know what a woman is. Like, they don't ever seem to kind of take that into account. I would not want to redefine what it is to be a woman. Otherwise, it lessens it.
It's the really, 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 really basic aspect of them getting offended when people say biological woman, because it's a distinction that does need to be made for certain, for medical reasons. It's a distinction that it doesn't need to be made in everyday life. It can be a bit of a dick move. A lot of people are very hard line on that for, I think, very little gain if someone's willing to meet you halfway. But this isn't a community of people who are willing to meet you halfway. It's a community of people who want you to go all the way to them and then go far, 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 far further. I don't want to get your channel taken down, so I'll tone down my take from some of my previous takes. But what I will say is that if a community has campaigned all of its life to live outside the closet, and then they can't behave themselves when they get that acceptance, they're going to be put back in that closet, because we're like, okay, you guys, the normie perception of this is becoming, you guys were in there for a reason. Like that is what people think. No, it is. It's what people think now. It's like, wow, there's unironically a large segment of the population who's beginning to think that gay rights were a bad idea because of all this.
We're seeing a lot of slippery slopes get validated, and it is good.
Yeah, and it's quite hard to argue against that when our representatives, so to speak, are the people who push this intersectional bullshit, and anyone who speaks out against it, say for example yours truly, get misrepresented and dogpiled out of the movement, and they're like, no, you have the wrong views. Like, I remember, like, Mars, who's in the chat, he had a tweet up the other day. I can't exactly remember what it was that he said. It was just something about non-binary, and the kind of response that he got from like a YouTuber called Cops Hate Mo, who actually used to be really quite reasonable. Like, their response was just like, Mars, like, just do us all a favor and log off. Like, just go away. Just don't talk about any of this stuff. Do what we say. Know your place. Go into your corner. Let us talk. But the people who want to be talking and leading these conversations, bear in mind, they don't actually have any interactions with the real world. They get all their kind of social circles. It's all revolves around kind of queer intersectionality. That's the only world that they know, and they honestly have no idea of what it's like to be, say, for example, Big Baz down the feathers, and like is what long-suffering wife or his son, or your general white van man, or the woman who works in a salon or a corner shop, or just all the normal people. They don't, because like a normal person doesn't give a shit about whether or not it's problematic that there's not enough the trans representation in cyberpunk isn't to a certain standard. Your average person does not care about that. And so when they actually start to try and pay attention to this stuff and think, like, what is this all about? What they see are these blue hairs, these screechers, calling everyone inherently bigoted simply for disagreeing with them. Like, it's impossible. I find it genuinely impossible at this point to have an honest conversation with a trans activist, because even if I might get along with them on a really personal kind of level, when it comes to this kind of conversation, the take is always, you are an inherently bad person if you don't follow exactly what we say. You are harmful if you don't do what we say. You deserve all the hate and abuse that you get. And they're the ones who are in control of this community, sadly, and they're getting more and more power by the day. But on the flip side, normies are starting to wake up to this. I think a lot of this trans support that you see on places like Twitter, I genuinely think it's nothing but a performance, because they don't want, they have seen what happens to people like J.K. Rowling or anyone who actually kind of talks out against it. People are seeing this, and if you don't, unless you kind of bend the knee to them, they will come after you. Eventually, that's going to reach a big tipping point, because it has to. This kind of behavior can't go on. And when it does, it's going to impact me badly, which is one of the reasons why I speak out against it. but it's going to impact the blue hairs who are, they might have like a beard and a big hairy chest, massive gut, and just put on a frock, and it's like, call me Tifa. And they will, they are the ones that will be harmed by this even more than me.
What's your take on this, probably, because I've got a bit of a long tangent to go on, probably at the end of this discussion. But before that, I want to hear what your kind of thoughts are about all this. I don't know. It's just what the, I guess, trans activist community has become in general is what this exemplifies.
Yeah, Rose is pretty much my voice on this. I'd say my thing is we got a weird situation. Well, I can sum it up with our representatives aren't representative. Someone just, for a start, the whole LGBT thing is a weird coalition that I don't think that group of people really has the overlap that acronym implies. But you get LGBT representatives who never say anything that I want them to say. And I know it's like, boo-hoo, I can't get my way, but I think it's quite general. It's someone gets to be a representative for a huge bunch of people, and you don't actually see that correlate to any kind of reality of what the people want.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing. This wouldn't be such an issue if if we really were in the sort of atomized individual hellscape that we're told we are, but we seem to bounce back between being these individuals and being in giant collectives where we're represented by people that I never voted for, who are the voice of, what I'm meant to want. And it drives me cray. It really does.
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of the time they'll be put on this pedestal just because I'm a big name queer, or they'll self-appoint themselves as such, like Abigail Thorne, or I think that's her surname,
oh yes,
philosophy who's coming out was I now use she/her pronouns. Now let me tell you about how oppressed I am and how difficult life is.
Immediately did say that they were one of the biggest trans voices in the UK.
Yes, and that really pissed me off. I actually, whilst we're kind of on that subject, there's some. Let me just pull it out. So there is. I want to kind of contrast the coming out of Philosophy Tube with this person. Kate Rayner. Now, she isn't someone that I had really heard of, but apparently she works for the Coalition, which are the current developers of Gears of War for Microsoft. And so you compare Abigail's coming out with this. And so all she talks about is, I am transgender, my gender identity is female. But look, my family have been acceptive and supportive. In spite of the challenges, I am happier, internally more at peace, fully present and optimistic in a way I have not been before. And she talks about how she's passionate about her job as a game developer and how Microsoft and the Coalition have been really supportive of it. And this just reads so positive. It does. You get the feel that she's come out. And
this feels genuine. Yes,
it feels genuine, and it feels like this is someone who, this is the kind of thing where if you want to talk about coming out being inspiring, this is the kind of stuff that you want to see. This is someone who's saying like, look, I experienced some challenges, but despite those challenges, I am actually in a much better place now than I ever have been. And I have wonderful friends and family and an employer who is there to support me. Isn't this great? That is the kind of message I would much rather be put out there when people are coming out. And you compare that to Philosophy Tubes, which is, it's never been worse to be a trans person in the UK, or with TERF Islands and removing our rights. And, I am now one of the most important trans people. Look at me. Listen to me, and then gets invited to the BBC whilst playing the fucking victim card. And meanwhile, you have someone who actually does a proper job, who has had obviously she will have had difficulties in the background. Everyone who comes out and starts their transition, everyone goes through a difficult phase, but she has not let that difficult phase define who she is, and that coming out that is genuinely, I think, beneficial for people to see, because it tells people that actually being trans is not a hellscape. It's not this, the UK, for example,
it's also not intertwined with ultra leftist political beliefs, which was the message that a lot of people give off, that it's not a moral, it's not moral to have a stance other than being left. And oh, and by the way, I'm trans. It's just like, what they do is they make it look more like a political action than a personal action. And again, that hastens the divide.
Yeah, and like I've no doubt that she probably leans left. Like I've no doubt. Like, I don't know what her politics are. I'm just going to throw that out there. I reckon she probably does lean left, but she hasn't put that in her statement. Otherwise, all I know about her is she's a game developer for Gears of War, and she's now happier. And you compare that with the people who talk about how, they get hundreds of thousands of likes, they're being shared everywhere, they have news stories written about them, they're invited to the BBC, but they're still so oppressed, guys. Life is still so hard for them. Like, fuck off with that. The UK being called things like TERF Island is bullshit. The UK is not a bad place to be trans.
Well, it's because they wouldn't fully bend over backwards like some parts of the US had done.
Yes, exactly.
Because they stopped it at a certain point. They said, "Look, this is getting ridiculous. We're losing large segments of the population. We can't keep giving into these demands." Yeah. And as it goes with the whole people who bleed thing, before I get too far away from that, it's a wider symptom of the lack of definitions that the left has, in that they don't agree with how normal words are defined by design. It's a version of the newspeak stuff, because I've had this argument with people over and over again where they go, why can't you just say woman for woman? Why do you have to say, people who bleed? And they were like, well, it doesn't include all women. It's just that, but it's just, we have to use shorthands like this every day. They're not oppressive. If I asked you what color the sky is, what would you say? You'd say it was blue. It might not be blue right now, but it's not always blue. But we say the sky is blue because it is a general statement. It's not the sky is always blue. It's not a woman is X. Saying woman in of itself isn't a political statement. They can't seem to grasp that. Yeah. Just like they can't seem to grasp that the fact that they're talking about very, very niche things like intersex diseases doesn't really play into their argument very well, because they're talking about birth defects. It's like, okay, so if you're talking about birth defects, then, can we no longer say that humans are bipedal, that they have two legs? Because some people aren't born with two legs. It becomes reductive. It becomes ridiculous. You have to generalize all the time to communicate.
Yes.
And what they do is they latch onto these normal modes of communication and say, because you're talking like a normal person, you're a bad person.
Yeah.
And it's one of the...
Well, Thomas Sowell talks about this in Vision of the Anointed.
Yes. I was
that's pretty much where you were going.
Yeah. I was
actually, can I hop on there on the language point quickly?
Absolutely.
The way the language is used is really interesting. Now, there's probably a fair few people who have seen the Lotus Eater stuff, and your boy Carl of Swindon put out an article on the intersectional definition of woman.
Yes, the Tide Pod Eaters. Yes.
Yeah. It was very words, and it bugged me because it completely missed the point, which is that the left actually doesn't have a definition. That the reason that, because they will change their definition the second they need to reach the end point, and the end point is what actually matters to them. The rules don't matter, the end point does.
Yeah, so if you want an example of that in real life, earlier last year when I did a video on non-binary people, and I kind of looked at various definitions that people were using, and the one that effectively made everything redundant is the idea of being non-binary. You just simply need to identify as being non-binary, and poof, you're non-binary. And when I pointed that out, I had a lot of people saying, Rose of Dawn doesn't understand non-binary. But are you seriously now against self-ID? Because that's exactly what I was pointing out. The second that you have self-ID in anything, then that term no longer has any kind of meaning. But they didn't, because they didn't want to openly admit that, because the whole house of cards falls apart if they openly say, well, no, there is an actual meaning to this. It doesn't mean not everyone can just say that they're non-binary and they are non-binary, because that's stupid. That's stupid. But they would then they wouldn't answer that exact point. They would kind of try and talk around it. And it happens almost all the time. Like when you try and define what a woman is, another big one is when you try and look at what trans activism actually stands for and what their definition of the transgender umbrella is, because some of them will include cross-dressers, some of them won't. But like Chloe said, it all comes down to when it is convenient for them to say it. And they will never be actually pinned down on a definition, because they have two options. They can either keep it so open that it no longer has any meaning and it loses any kind of respect with people from outside of their circle. And they kind of know that. But at the flip side, they can't put a strict definition on it, because if they do so, they are gatekeeping. And, as a self-identified true scum, I know that is the one thing which they really don't want to be. They don't want to be seen as stopping a powerful, fierce NB who has literally done nothing at all, not even changed their pronouns. They don't want to stop that person from joining the comfort of the umbrella. And so they won't actually put a definition on it. And if they started to, then the community would eat them alive. They'd be like, "Oh, well, you're going to stop Brigitte for saying that she is saying that they aren't a man, when, Brigitte otherwise is just a woman, but literally just calls herself a man, even uses female pronouns." It's that level of absurdity. Sorry, I think I've kind of derailed what you were saying.
I know it's fun. It's just it's so reductive in that this all leads to one place. It's saying we are oppressed, world is imperfect, therefore communism. That's what all these arguments are underneath it. It's world isn't perfect. Here's a middle ground solution that nobody likes. Oh, if we swept that all away with communism, this wouldn't be an issue. That's all it is.
It's one of the things that I always kind of love about leftists. They'll point out what the problem is with the world, and then it'll just always be, well, it just so happens that my ideology has the exact answer for how this is sorted. What we need to do is dismantle capitalism and the patriarchy and whiteness, and we all basically need to live in communes where, the working plebs, they will continue to work in the factories and mine, and meanwhile, we'll just sit there gaining mass, being morbidly obese, but we'll be a poet, because every 3 days I might remember to just say fuck whitey. Effectively that.
Nice.
So with that, because we do need to kind of go through things a bit more quickly, because a bit of a geek moment for me. I don't know how many of you play video games, but I sure like my video. I like my video, and Nintendo have a Nintendo Direct on at 10, which is a big deal because they haven't done one of those in almost a year and a half, and they're announcing a new Smash Brothers character. And yes, I'm a loser. Don't judge me. But I am just going to read out some of the super chats that have come through. William Forge with the $5 New Zealand. Hi, Rose. How are you holding up? This is my first seal of approval I am watching. Hello from New Zealand. Aww.
Hello.
Oh, welcome to seal of approval.
Yes,
don't we worry. There is. I have a fantastic seal story for this. This is a good one. So Darbanville 13 with $5 for the new princess. Oh, thank you. Cami is thanking you all for these lovely super chats, which are going to help her, basically just have lots of toys and dreamies. And I need to see if we can get kitten dreamies, actually. William Forge again with the $2 New Zealand. 100% Rose. Cops hate Mo is notoriously bad now. I kind of am a little bit disappointed at the angle that Mo has gone, because I initially, because we had a chat last year and we did a stream together, and I actually found them to be okay. I mean, I wasn't really convinced by their arguments when we did the stream together. I actually think they did much better in their initial video, where they kind of put their rebuttal to my non-binary video a bit better. But I think, especially since starting to hang out with more of the reactionary trans man YouTube crowd, where initially, and admittedly, the channel has taken off. Unfortunately, when you kind of fit into that crowd, you can no longer kind of have any view that goes against theirs. You can't really be controversial. You just have to agree with what they say, otherwise they'll eat you alive. And that appears to be what's happening to Mo. I don't have anything against him as a person. I'm sure that Mo probably doesn't share that. I know that a lot of like the online trans community really doesn't like me. But I personally don't think that Mo is a bad person. I wouldn't say that anyone should go target them or attack them or anything like that. I just I disagree with their direction, that's all. And Jean-Piotr Golen, I apologize if I've mispronounced it, with the 25 PLN. I'm not sure what PLN is. It's great to hear proper horror show. Greetings for all. Oh, you got a fan?
Jan's really cool. We talk horror.
Awesome.
And Jan had a really, really cool take on Midnight Meat Train.
Is that the one with Vinnie Jones?
Midnight Meat Train.
Yeah, don't Google it with safe search off, but it's a really good horror film. It's from Clive Barker, who's obviously responsible for Candyman and Hellraiser. So you're in good hands. And the director Ryuhei Kitamura is also really solid.
I remember Clive Barker's Jericho, the video game.
I remember.
Good. Clive Barker's Jericho by Clive Barker was not a very good game.
I always find it weird when people put their names into video games, like American McGee's Alice. Like, it's, I don't know. And Billy Bob with $1.99. Look, much love from a Texas sophomore. Oh, thank you. I did see just something in the chat. Where has it gone? Here we go. Just a quick one to address. I check your Twitch channel once in a while. When will you stream some games? It is something which I'm kind of planning on doing, and let me know if this would be something that you're interested in, because I've been thinking about this since watching a really good new channel that's just come out in the last week by a guy called Morcar. Morcar is, he's a wizard. He's a dark wizard, and when he's not, slaying adventurers, he spends his time playing Postman Pat on the ZX Spectrum and dropping some red pills whilst playing through all the Street Fighter games. And it kind of got me thinking of streaming old games from like that I used to play when I was a little kid and kind of seeing how they've aged. Like it would be a lot of like Amiga stuff or Spectrum or Super Nintendo, N64, GameCube, like all kinds of different generations. I think that might be that would be quite fun for me to do, but I don't know whether people would want to watch.
I'd watch that.
Rose of Dawn plays Horace goes skiing on the ZX Spectrum.
I would totally watch that. That sounds really good. I'm really here for that. Actually, a quick shout out. It conflicts with her schedule, unfortunately. But my friend Marta, I think it's /Marta's Corner on Twitch. She does lots of like wholesome gaming streams. She just does like just nice, fun gaming stuff, and I like seeing that with people when they're not like too twitchy. You know what I mean? Not too.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people on Twitch are awful,
and
awful in the same way. But no, it's definitely something I'd watch.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm not good enough at modern games to really kind of, like I wouldn't like the one big game that I do play a lot of at the moment is Destiny, but I'm definitely not entertaining enough on that to kind of become like a Destiny streamer. I just more kind of will play like a couple of raids every now and then I'll go and watch the Chris Chan documentary for the 15th time.
You mean the one that's got like 100 parts to it?
Oh yeah, it's on part 51 now.
I fell out of that. It broke me. I think I fell out about part 35.
I've not been watching them because I already know.
Girl.
I already know enough about Chris Chan. My favorite quote about Chris Chan is we know more about the life of Chris Chan than we do about the life of George Washington.
Yes. Like what's actually like but speaking of Chris Chan, I've been kind of trying to think of like what the best quotes actually uttered by Christian Weston Chandler actually are. And like Scrump, I know you're a bit of a
I like his original intro. I like his "Hi, I'm Christian Weston Chandler. I'm over here." And y'all are over there.
It's like,
I
don't
don't know. That's
teenagers.
That's whole and that whole intro of him talking about men, women, teenagers, and dudes of all ages, and the gals, of course. It's just so it's like a before time. It gives me hope. It's like this is Christian before we ruined him.
I got tricked by the pickle man again.
Yeah, that's
the pickle man tricked me again.
Yeah, I think that is probably my favorite Chris Chan quote, because those 6 words just they say so much. Like the pickle man, like who the hell is that? The pickle man tricked me. Like you actually got tricked by this guy, and then he adds again.
Yeah,
and it's like it's hard to think of a sentence that actually just kind of makes you bring up so many questions.
I was always since the beginning, I was always vaguely aware of Chris Chan because the circles I ran in. But the man in the pickle suit saga is what really turned me into more of a Christorian. I'm not someone who advocates getting involved.
Him around.
Yeah, I'm a kind of a I don't know. I'm an observer from a distance kind of person. I think we should have preserved Chris Chan. Yeah, they should have preserved Chris Chan in his natural habitat, doing his natural things. They should have observed the Prime Directive. They didn't. They interfered, and look what happened.
Yeah, now he got the dimensional merge. Now he thinks that he's possessed by Sonichu, and last I heard, he's got some like quartz or something, which he's going to zap with a taser. But it's fine if it hits him because he's part electric type now.
What was that group that basically took over his life?
The Idea Guys.
Yeah, the Idea Guy. Oh, that whole saga. Things get so dark.
Yeah, the Idea Guys are one of the ones where it kind of like, because I think that there's 2 kinds of 3 kinds of Chris Chan trolls. I think there's the real life ones that literally don't do anything, and Chris just kind of declares war on them. Like Mary Lee Walsh or Adam Stackhouse or Megan.
Some of the fun stuff was like Liquid Chris.
Yeah, they're the second ones. The ones that kind of targeted him, but kind of indirectly. Because from what I know about Liquid, he kind of just started off just doing it as a Chris Chan parody channel.
Yeah.
And it seemed to only really be by chance that Chris came across the video where he's talking about selling merchandise at an Otakon, and it just kind of blew up from there. But then you also have the direct trolls, which is like Clyde Cash and Blue Spike, and they're the ones where it can sometimes be a little bit, I don't know, it can get quite nasty. Like the whole Blue Spike thing is ridiculously fucked up.
Yeah, it is.
It's indefensible.
Some of the stuff with like the alternate universe stuff, like the whole Clyde Cash thing, and they blame everything on Clyde Cash. I kind of liked Clyde Cash the character, but they should have done that away from Chris. Yeah, they should have made up this whole universe and talked about this whole lore in separation to Chris. They should have been Chris Chan the person and Chris Chan the online personality, and never the two shall meet. But they couldn't handle that. Anyway, we're getting way off topic here, and we have more stuff to talk about. Yes,
especially because we've only got about half an hour left. Jesus Christ. We're just going on about Chris Chan. Let me bring up the seals of news. We might have to prioritize some stories.
We can go over some stuff relatively quickly.
Some of these
topics aren't very meaty.
Yeah, okay. So, Scrump, pick yourself a seal of news.
I guess the other really big one we have to talk about is the Joss Whedon stuff.
Ah, yes. So what's happened with Joss Whedon?
Well, he's been quote unquote outed as an abuser, but not in a very non-specific and very general way. There's been like a drip feed of stuff about, Joss Whedon doesn't seem like a particularly nice guy, but that seems to be all he's guilty of. He's a philanderer. He's a woman. He's basically a Hollywood executive.
Yeah,
he's a Hollywood executive. He's someone in Hollywood. There's been some insinuations of maybe him tagging underage people, but nothing. Again, they're only whispers. That it's very muddy, and like there's not even been an accusation of that. Really, it's just whispers. Yeah. All of this is whispers. That's the old stuff you've got up there. That's from a couple of years ago. That's from 2017.
Yeah. So let's just kind of give a little bit of a background as to what just like, let me just bring up one of the more recent ones, because I've got Ray Fisher. Yeah, this is more just a background thing, because I know Horror Show particularly wants to, well, has a very specific take on Whedon. If she's there.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so I remember all the stuff about him being outed as kind of a hypocrite for, cheating on his wife. Okay, that's all good. And it was kind of, the hypocrisy was kind of funny. But the new round of allegations just sounded a lot more serious and a lot more dark. And so I looked into them, and the more I looked into them, it was like the less I knew. And it reminded me of something I see a lot in like kind of common smearing tactics. Like the label gets applied to someone and that starts rumors snowballing, and everyone's like, basically there's something happens that gets someone labeled a bad thing. And then that goes around. And then everyone is just talking about how that person's a bad thing, but they can't really connect it to what actually happened. And like I've seen that happen to you, Rose. I've seen like Scrump. I've seen like people have thrown stuff at you, and you've been like, okay, be specific. What's the allegation? And they have nothing.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of that. So I looked into these, and no one is specific. Like the Ray Fisher just says he was unprofessional, and it's like, okay.
Yes. Sorry, I was muted there. I didn't realize. Yes, that is something that's happened to me. And I will say very, very quickly that the only way to really defend yourself against this type of thing is to go on the offensive and say, okay, be specific or go away.
Yeah. So I looked at this, and it just struck me like, you know how basic. Okay. I've come up with a term that will never catch on because it's really bad, but the term is a mushroom attack.
There is actually a word for this. They call it a whisper campaign.
Oh, yeah, no, it is a whisper campaign, but I mean the thing I mean by mushroom attack, which will never catch on. A mushroom starts off like very thin, very narrow, very, it covers a very small area. So you think of something that's a bad thing, let's say beating people up because they are gay, and we'll call that thing homophobia, and we'll say that's very bad. And pretty much everyone's on board that you should not do that bad thing. Homophobia is bad.
Yes.
And once you've got that term established, then more and more gets shoved under the term, and it spreads out like the head of a mushroom. And then you're finding someone getting this really horrible term applied to them, fascist, Nazi, racist, transphobe. Big words that could apply to killing someone or not having enough people of a certain type on your board of directors. And it becomes a way to throw a really big smear on someone without necessarily much behind it. And I look at that with Joss Whedon, because he's getting these terms like Joss Whedon's an abuser. And I've looked through the accusations, and there's nothing there. No one is specific. The like Charisma Carpenter gets the closest to it, and this might annoy a fair few people, but basically she talks about Whedon was really upset with her. She doesn't say how upset, when she announced that she had gotten a tattoo that would be quite visible on screen a lot. And when she got pregnant during season 3 and season 4, and it resulted in, if one of your main characters, main actors gets pregnant, you kind of have to switch around a TV show quite quickly. And it's like, okay, I might be unpopular with that, but that is a reason to be frustrated.
Like I said, it's very normal Hollywood, a lot of this stuff. And you're right. It's Charisma Carpenter, the actress who played Cordelia in Buffy, has come out and said that Joss Whedon was like verbally and mentally abusive. He was just a typical kind of diva-ish director. He did. I don't think he dealt with the situation particularly well, but these cases are very, very common on set in Hollywood. It's just kind of, like I said, it's Hollywood operating as intended.
I mean, remember the Christian Bale outburst from years ago? Like that kind of, it's that kind of thing. Like that is fairly commonplace within Hollywood. But like, I think what you're kind of trying to say with the mushroom thing is, like, there's a lot of kind of words being thrown around, but the thing is, there's absolutely no kind of real substance to it.
No, there isn't. I guess my take on this is that Joss Whedon could easily be all these things, but they need to provide evidence that he is, because it's so ripe in Hollywood circles. I mean, you mentioned earlier, but it is very much it's the whole twink parties, Bryan Singer, all that shit with what's his face. There's just been so many people outed. It's kind of par for the course, especially when someone's a male feminist. But the lack of evidence here seems to lead me to believe that Joss Whedon actually isn't, because they can't they'd be coming out of the woodwork if he was, because he's now kind of become a valid target. You're right. It's interesting. It's a combination of widening of definitions. You are right there, Papa, but it's also there's an idea that there are sacred cows and valid targets. A lot of people in Hollywood didn't get the takedowns they deserved. Like Bryan Singer being one of them. It's been known for years that Bryan Singer is a pedophile. A practicing pedophile. Dozens of people have come out and said it. It was the same when it happened with Kevin Spacey as well, and he came out as gay in response to it to try and cover it up. There's someone who never. All of them.
Dan Schneider is the weirdest one, because it's blatantly obvious even within his shows. Like, someone shared a couple of screen grabs from iCarly, which was just real kind of foot fetish stuff with teenage girls. And like,
I think we all knew something was afoot.
Well, there's more stuff against someone like Quentin Tarantino than there is against Joss Whedon, because he's someone who did like on record put his actors and actresses through hell, and took a lot of pictures, very suspicious pictures of Uma Thurman's feet. Insert wiggle your big toe scene here. A lot of people in Hollywood are really, 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 really fucked up, but what they're doing isn't illegal a lot of the time, and it doesn't make them abusers. It just makes them weirdos or bad bosses. Then people need to you're right. People need to be specific and define their terms, because a lot of people for clout will go after someone in Hollywood without really much detail to it. But the other angle I would add to this, and this is the end of my long take here, is that Joss Whedon can't come out and defend himself against this because he's a male feminist.
Yeah,
his ideology prevents him from defending himself, and he has partaken in these kind of accusations against other people before. He's part of the culture that birthed this, so it's kind of a live by the sword, die by the sword situation. In that, I don't think Joss Whedon is, a quote unquote abuser. He was a shitty husband. He was a philanderer, and he was a very, very bad male feminist. He violated his own morals, but by his own standards, he deserves this. So I really can't muster a huge amount of sympathy, because he would do this in a heartbeat to another director. So
that is fair enough.
Yeah,
your take is correct for a horror show. I just don't care.
No, it's fine. So I put that article from. I mean, I agree with you, but I just thought it was interesting. Like, the media have been absolutely on a feeding frenzy, and it's kind of a, you get what you deserve moment, but. If you read Anthony Stewart Head's comments, Anthony Stewart Head, I'm sure people know, played Giles, and it's quite revealing, because I feel he's probably quite out of touch with the narratives and the movements, and it's like he hasn't known what role he has to play in this, because he just comes up and says, I've got his quote here. "What did I miss? I've been running through my memories. I'm not saying I didn't see it, so it didn't happen. I can't, but I'm gutted. I'm seriously gutted, because skipping a bit. I'm really sad if people went through these experiences. I kind of hope someone would come up to me and say, I'm struggling. I just had a horrible conversation." He's basically saying, I don't know what they're talking about. Don't get me in trouble, but I didn't see any of this. And it's kind of interesting. Like, it's basically him saying, I don't know if there's anything here, but I sure hope there wasn't. And the Screen Rant article, actually, if you read it, it's they're annoyed with him. They actually say his explanation, his assessment of the allegations left much to be desired. As in, God damn it, Anthony Stewart Head, you got to throw him under the bus harder. I know you haven't actually got anything, but just be kind of vague, you know?
Yeah, when someone's painted as a target like this, it's expected that no one defends them.
Yeah, and I just find it really weird because what was it, 2 years ago was the 20th anniversary of Angel, 3 years ago was the 20th anniversary of the end of Buffy, and everyone was all real happy to be in a picture with him, with Whedon, and say really lovely things then, and they said really lovely things on the DVD extras, and I know it's kind of a turnaround.
Well, it's ever since he fell out of favor with Marvel, it seems to be the trajectory of your career is what saved you. Because James Gunn was saved. Basically, they came out and said, look, I know there's a lot here to cancel him on, but we're not going to cancel him because, lol, he's one of us. Also, Disney likes him. And it feels that, like, since his career's been on the downswing, since he can't do people favors, he's become, it really is. It's a matter of, if someone isn't seen as powerful enough to help you, then you go after them. It's like the whole thing with Weinstein. Like, when the Weinstein thing happened, everyone came out and was like, oh yeah, everybody knew. It's like, well, why didn't you do something then? Why didn't you say something? Why did it take, decades for this to come to light? Well, because you were all benefiting from his power. You all knew and you were all complicit. Like, the whole industry was complicit with Weinstein, all of them. Yeah, they were all in bed with them. They're all still in bed with people exactly like Weinstein. That's the dirty little secret of Hollywood. That they really do not care as long as someone can make them money. They don't care how bad a person is. And it seems that Joss Whedon made the mistake of not having as much of a career anymore, it seems. Because when the stuff that came out from his wife, which is honestly a bit more damning, her talking about him cheating on her with basically all the members of the cast of Buffy, and there's arguments of kind of power dynamics there, and you really should not be sleeping with people who are subordinate to you, especially in an industry like Hollywood. All of that was a lot worse, and it really didn't impact him back then. Like in 2017, you're right, he was still seen as a bit of a golden child, but now that his career is more on a downswing, he's wood for the fire. It's almost like a ritual sacrifice. It's really weird when you see these things.
Well, I mean, exactly what you say about sort of safe targets and opportune moments. It really does decide everything. I mean, reminder: Canada's Prime Minister did blackface. He's still around. It's not his time, but if it's ever inconvenient, he's going to get Aunt Jemima'd,
Oh yeah, fucking poor Aunt Jemima.
Oh god.
Poor cream of wheat guy as well. They got rid of the cream of wheat guy too.
Oh no. They've changed its like really generic names as well now. I mean, it's called like, I can't remember what
it's the something milling company.
Yeah. Aunt Jemima is just saying like, oh, it's a brand, a recognizable brand, but this is just kind of like Pilling Bailey Mill Company, and it's like
the problem is they're going to have people coming into the store asking them where the Aunt Jemima's is for like years now.
Yeah. It's definitely going to impact the sales. Before we move on from Joss Whedon, I just think like the kind of the strangest like comments on Whedon actually, where did it go? Yeah, Nicholas Brendan's comments were like kind of actually quite reasonable, because a lot of people, they've been looking for all the Buffy stars to condemn Joss Whedon. And the guy who played Angel, I just saw a couple of articles where it's like, oh, he finally speaks out against Joss Whedon. And it's like, well, they were just kind of sitting there just waiting for him to do so. But like they were like asking Nicholas Brendan to, like asking him for statements when he's actually awaiting serious surgery, when he actually has kind of other things to think about. And he's just like, oh, if you don't mind, I'm going to get some spinal surgery tomorrow and heal up and come up with a statement that represents me. It's like, the guy's kind of going through quite serious problem and he's being bugged for statements. Although he then kind of adds a little bit more, too much information by saying, my anus is kind of paralyzed and so is my penis, which is weird. I got to sit down to piss because I don't know if I'm shitting or pissing. It's crazy.
I feel you, buddy.
It's kind of like, Yeah, we kind of got the picture that, you're in a very serious condition, and then it's just like, oh, I don't know whether I'm pissing or shitting. But yeah, I think he's had the surgery now, and that all went well. So, whilst he's kind of awaiting recovery, there'll probably be, he still hasn't, it's been 3 days since his surgery. He still hasn't condemned Joss Whedon. And kind of watch out for that. Watch out for people like almost kind of running a ticking clock on how long it takes this guy who's like recovering from surgery to come out with a statement that is, that appeases the mob.
Oh, yeah.
This is
wait. Paralyzed penis?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. That's an interesting medical condition.
Yeah, but the way it has been a classic like scum media feeding frenzy, whereas like Nicholas Brendan and David Boreanaz didn't want to comment. Sarah Michelle Gellar didn't want to comment, probably because I don't think there was all that much there. To be honest with you, like you say, standard diva behavior. But then it was speculation. Will they comment? Like the media got a story out of it either way, and there was enough people that they were able to roll it over each day and just kind of lazily copy paste the article and just build up the pressure. It's so weird, man. But like even if it happens to someone who helped create the culture, it's creepy, sad to see.
Let them all kill each other.
So, because we're running a bit tight on time, so we need to hop onto the next story. I'm not sure how many people are aware of this, but
more of an American story. Yeah,
it's more of an American story. I never really listened to Rush Limbaugh, although there was a recording that he did at Christmas, which was quite emotional. Basically kind of signing off for the last time. And a lot of people kind of got the impression that because he's been fighting cancer for a couple of years now and it's terminal, and like in his kind of Christmas address to people, it came across as like, he was kind of like signing out for the last time. And sadly that was the case. And he has announced that he had passed away. I believe it was this morning. And naturally the Twitter and the kind of leftist media are full of jubilation, because this is what happens every single time a conservative dies. These are the same people who were asking for like mourning and sympathy when it's someone that they respect, like Ruth Bader Ginsburg, which by all means respect that, or Fidel Castro. Like I remember when Castro died, and there was a lot of the left were very very solemn about that. He's a true revolutionary. I think Corbyn said a couple of nice things about Fidel Castro. A lot of LGBT people saying nice things about Castro, ignoring the fact that he put gay people into camps in the 1960s. But anyway, Rush Limbaugh has passed away. And the leftist media and Twitter have just shown that once again, like they don't even really wear a mask at this point. And
am I going to have to get the Sam Hyde quote out again?
Yep.
You can't keep getting away with this.
So we've got different headlines. Conservative radio provocateur and cultural phenomenon. That's not too bad. Just calling him a provocateur, like I can kind of get why conservatives would be like, don't call him that. But then we have Huffington Post, Rush Limbaugh, bigoted king of talk radio, the human megaphone who hijacked the GOP. These are the people who are healing and unity. Some of the lovely tweets. If I had something to say something positive, I guess I'm glad Rush Limbaugh lived long enough to get cancer and die. Rush Limbaugh helped create today's polarized America by normalizing racism, bigotry, misogyny, and mockery. He was a demagogue who got rich off of hate speech, division, lies, and toxicity. My dog sending Rush off to hell. # rest in piss. Instead of focusing on all the horrific, racist, misogynistic, miserable, harmful things Rush Limbaugh said and did in his 70 years on Earth, let's focus on all the good stuff he did. Nothing. Hell seemed fun until now. Rush Limbaugh was a terrible human being in life, and I refuse to abide by the convention that his death absolves him from criticism for his legacy of bigotry. There was even if you just kind of go on Twitter at the moment, it's all like it was like Rush Limbaugh was trending just a few hours ago, and pretty much the entirety of Twitter was just nothing but absolute hatred for the man. Like
they just real Magdalene Burns vibes here.
Yeah,
it's ritualistic, is what it is.
It is.
It's like when they came out and said, "Oh, by the way, we fixed the election, and that's a good thing." Like that. Was it a Time magazine article that talks about the heroes of what do they call it? Fortifying the election and all this. Here's how we did it. Basically, it was like it was like the O.J. Simpson book. It's the same thing that they doing to a smaller scale that Joss Whedon. In that this is a almost ritualistic event for them. It is a reaffirmation of the fact that if you do not agree with them, you are not a person. And that's why I will stick to my point that I made when Doom was on here, that even the modern mainstream left, they want you dead. Like that they are having media who screams at them constantly that anyone who is not one of them should not be alive. That is the gist of most news stories now. Trump is not a person. Trump's enabler is not a person. Anyone who's ever been nice to a Trump supporter, he's not a person. That is what the media says to people. It's like the parade in Florida a couple of days ago, the people were incredibly freaked out that he still had support. They, one of the funnier posts was, "I thought we removed him from social media. How has he still got support?" Like they think that makes him stop existing in real life. And they are, there's people who've come out and said that anyone who is the whole list of enablers and things like that, it's this is what you can expect. We are so far beyond wow. Can you remember? Like, can you imagine if the roles were reversed kind of rhetoric? That's like 2015 tier. It's like, no, this is completely expected. This isn't hypocrisy. This is functioning as intended for the left.
I need to pour you a double on that,
right?
Because I really think that's where we need to be.
Yeah,
just like. As you say, since 2015, we've been pointing out the hypocrisy of the left, Larry Elder published his collection of articles in 2009 called Double Standards, The Hypocrisy of the Left. We've been saying it for years. It doesn't matter. You are not going to catch them on hypocrisy. They don't care.
Yeah.
What we need to do is just... I'll give you the 6 whiskey version of it, which is, can we stop pretending that leftists have any moral basis that we care about? Can we just stop?
I don't want to rag on Dev too hard, but I had a massive, day-long debate in Sargon's fucking Discord with Dev because I was saying that we need to make moral judgments, and the moral judgment that needs to be said is that, as a whole, the modern left is a force for evil. That I think just saying, wow, can you look at the hypocrisy? And I don't think an intellectual argument has the same effect as a moral argument, a simple moral argument, because for the entirety of its existence, the 20th century and 21st century left has been saying that the right are demons, that they're evil, that they need to be destroyed and killed. They've been saying that for decades and decades, and their basic kind of premise, and they teach it in schools. Really, you'll probably remember being taught it in school, basically, that the right is evil. That is their core concept. That is their core argument, and in its raw simplicity, that is how they get through to people. They don't make an intellectual argument. The ideas behind that don't make much sense, but it's a simplistic good versus evil kind of appeal to that.
Yeah,
and I think there is enough evidence to make a moral judgment and say that the modern political left are evil. They do evil, they act evil, they revel in it, they are evil. They're not hypocrites. You can't debate them. They do not have a moral core. There's no magic argument that's going to make them climb down from their position and see reason. They are purely immoral beings.
Yeah.
I mean, sorry, Trump, I missed what you were saying there. I saw the Cuties 2 trailer was released. What was that you were saying there?
I'm being deliberately reductivist and going back to the argument and saying, women menstruate, the sky is blue, and the left are evil. That's it's. I know a lot. He got very upset and he said, "You can't generalize like that. You can't become the monster you're fighting." But I'm not. I'm just saying that we need to start at a simpler point. I think the arguments on the right are too esoteric and complex. I think the ultimate thrust of the argument needs to be: look at this. These people are evil because they are. They, like I said, I'm becoming like Louis here. It's the left are evil. The left, leftists want you dead, and criminals' rights don't matter.
I think we can do that and get past the. I'm sorry, I am enjoying their content, but the Lotus Eaters, the screed of hypocrisy. We just need a situation where the left, have to follow the rules when they destroy your life.
But they never will. Look at the way in which they act when with cancel culture. If it's somebody that they dislike, they'll tell you openly, cancel culture doesn't exist. But the second it's somebody on their side who it happens to, they're instantly like, oh, look at what the right is doing. Oh, they talk about cancel culture, but look at what they're doing in this instance. They don't kind of get the idea that actually this is a bad thing. Maybe nobody should do it, because they have morality on two different scales, one which applies to them and one which applies to their opponents. Their opponents are subhuman scum and they are virtuous, and everything which they do is correct and right. And that's the way it's important to recognize that, because they don't come at you with an honest angle. They will, like we were mentioning, I think, like Chloe mentioned before, like a lot of these kind of spurious allegations that they make against you. If I want to use myself as an example, there's a I think it's like a podcast or something that's called What the Trans, and they've made numerous kind of accusations against me, and they'd had me blocked for a while, and then they unblocked me a few weeks ago, and they tried to open a dialogue, and one of the first things they said was like, oh, even though we disagree strongly on your opinions on race. And I'm like, what are my opinions on race? They put in that insinuation there. It's like, you're a racist. You're a racist. And it's like, well, I don't actually talk about race. I don't talk about race. I think that the color of someone's skin shouldn't impact the way in which they are treated by society. So are they against that? Are they racist? But obviously that's not the way.
Democrats are the real racist, guys.
Well, yeah, it's basically that. There was absolutely no point in me trying to engage with them, and I've had this several times with the numerous kind of startup Twitter or trans YouTubers who are trying to be the next reactionary trans YouTuber, and they'll be in my comments and they'll be calling me all sorts of stuff.
I call those people crumb tubers.
Yeah, no, basically, yeah. They will have a few hundred subscribers. They'll do a load of videos on me.
Trying to nibble on the scraps of bread tube.
Yeah, and they will throw out lots of different accusations at me, and then I would try and be like, what exactly are you talking about? What is your problem with this? Trying to actually nail them down. These kinds of people regularly call me a cyberbully and say that I incite harassment against people, which I've never done. And so I will ask them, what is your evidence that I've ever done this? Show it. But then they will just instantly be like, LMAO, are you mad? Oh, cope. And then it will be very quickly followed up with, oh, let's go debate on my channel. Come on, have a debate on my channel. Come on, have a debate. And then they want to do a Vosh-style debate where they screech at you.
Debate me on stream. Debate me on stream. The thing is, you can counteract those people very easily by... people keep asking me to debate Destiny. Destiny won't debate me. He won't respond to me or Dankula because he's afraid of us. But everyone kept saying that after what happened during the election stream, in which I just shut him down because he does that whole fast talking thing. Talking fast doesn't make you less wrong, guys. That's just how it works.
Yeah.
And he also didn't really research the fact that you get a lockdown. It's very easy to get people if you stick to a point and you just... It does become mudsling at a point, but... I don't know, if I was ever hypothetically asked to debate Virus, I'd just sit there, and every time he said something, I would just say, you are a pedophile, and people shouldn't listen to you. That would be my response to every point he makes, because Vaush is a pedophile, and you shouldn't listen to him. He's a child porn advocate, and someone who doesn't agree with the age of consent. He's a paedophile.
Scrump, that is not fair. You left out the fact that he has horsecock fantasies.
Well, it's just people get so bogged down the minutiae. Don't debate the minutiae of leftist arguments. They don't have an argument a lot of the time. That's what I keep telling people. Don't intellectualize a lot of the time. It's like the meme of the IQ curve where the top and bottom agree with each other and the middle is just a load of fucking text.
Oh, Scrump, you missed out that Vosh sexually harassed someone over Discord 2 years ago. And
I don't need video on
it. No,
you're missing the nuance of the situation, Scrump. Never forget the horsecock.
He's a self-confessed, avowed paedophile, and that should be enough.
No, it's just a reference. Like one of his, like he had like a load of tweets from like I think it might have been like 2019, and then he's like, "Oh, I sexually harassed like someone, like a girl." A girl in over the internet, and I did a video on it, and all of a sudden everyone only just so happened to notice that one, and then
it's funny
because it's all about accountability.
I'll reference something you put in chat there, Proper Horror Show. You're right. The problem with Sargon and the whole Lotus Eaters thing is they've been reading too much Hegel and Locke when they should have been reading Hop. I actually put out a Minds that just said less Hegel, more Hop. But it is true.
Say James Burnham all.
It's just it's a case of it's a reciprocation of rights. It's like that Hoppy and Snake meme that gets more and more wordy about the whole communists aren't people thing. But yeah, it's the whole point of that you can't debate someone who doesn't agree with your right to exist. That's what the left say about the right. But you can throw that right back.
Why would you want moral approval from them? Why would you want Vaush to think you are morally correct? Because if he thinks you're morally correct, you are doing something awful.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm thinking back to you and the Contra thing, and it was like one person took people's donations to fund an opium addiction and buy a third house, and you pointed out that wasn't a great thing. It's like, I'm mangling that situation a bit there, but who got the heat?
Wait, is ContraPoints a landlord?
I mean, check Kiwi Farms for confirmation, but multiple houses. Don't know if it's being rented out, but
possibly landlord. That'd be hilarious. But yes, it's a case of that rights need to be reciprocated. I'm very much on that boat, and I can say that because the modern left are reductivist and don't agree with your idea to exist. I don't recognize their right to exist. You've got to exist on equal terms, and you really have to show people the end result of their rhetoric when it's applied to them. Because if someone doesn't have a position that is morally compatible with debate, then you can't debate them. It's what I've been trying to tell people for years, that you can't have a debate with someone who thinks you should be murdered. That's what the left says. Like, the only thing I agree on fully with Sargon is the whole Sargon's law of the left always projects, because they do. And everything they say about the right is what they want to do to normal people. And a lot of people disagree with my usage of right and left terms. Most people think in right and left terms, unfortunately. And you have to have the debate that's currently going on, not the debate you want to have. I don't know. I'm going kind of off-piste here a little bit. But I think the whole thing with the whole Rush Limbaugh, it's not about Rush Limbaugh. It's not about this. People get bogged down in the minutiae of the events instead of making a wider point, which is that the modern left does not agree with the right to exist of anyone that disagrees with it. Therefore, you are justified in saying that as a unified force, as a political force, the modern left are morally bankrupt and therefore evil. And I think that's a very powerful argument to make to people. You're not arguing policy. You're not arguing specifics. You're not, going over the minutiae of what people do next. It's just, please get these people out of here. They are morally bankrupt. They do not deserve to have their hands anywhere near the levers of power, no matter what their specific beliefs are.
Right. So we. So I think at this point we do need to start wrapping things up, because I'm a massive nerd. But before we do, there is the seal of the week. There's a seal of the week, guys, and this week's good seal news it's pretty awesome. The Seals stage comeback on France's northern coast. Look at that.
It's a seal invasion. Good.
Yeah. You know, like you had the British invasion in the 60s in America, and now in like 2021, it's the seal invasion in France. Crowds of seals lie on the sand, some wriggling towards the water on the northern French coast, where they're staging their comeback. So here is a great, they called it a cub, it's actually a pup. Get your seal terminology right. So this is a baby seal waiting for Phoebe at Animal Refuge.
Can we have the NGOs bring them over instead? That'd be great.
I want more seals. A seal took me job.
Imagine Nigel Farage just on the beach filming seals arriving.
That would just that would just be the most wholesome thing.
Yeah, he calls them good seals, though.
Yes,
seals are compatible with our Western values, guys. Remember that.
Oh Christ! Yeah, so that is the good news. It is the good news, and it is the seal news. So
yes.
So with that, what we need to do now is we need to because I forgot to do it again. We'll need to if people can vote in the chat for who you think gets this week's seal of approval. Is it myself, Scrump, or Proper Horror Show? Let us know in the chat. So you go mad and show everyone.
Please do the democracy. There's no voting machines here, so it'll be fair.
Yes. Yeah.
Unless
no
YouTube censors your comment, because YouTube does tend to ruin people. Like YouTube was ruining my chat last time I was streaming. It kept like removing people's messages, even though I turned any kind of filtering off. It was retarded, but. It's okay. Is there any shilling we need to get done? Is there any shilling you want to do, Proper Horror Show, before we go? While we're waiting for people to vote.
I don't want to preemptively shill. I have not posted for 2 weeks because my computer, my lovely fast rig, broke. And
womp womp.
I know. F in the chat for my computer. It is hopefully getting fixed and coming back tomorrow. And I have filmed a load of stuff ready to go. I spent way too much time editing Carl of Swindon's face into a certain scenario than is ever going to be justified by the view count. But gosh, it was fun to do. So hopefully next Tuesday videos will come. And I've also done a whole load of non-horror off-topic stuff. So TLDR videos are coming, folks. Sub to Proper Horror Show. Also, I'm spiciest on here. Only a little bit of spice gets through onto my channel.
Oh well, yeah. I'll say that I'll be streaming tomorrow with my usual co-host Trig. As always, I will shill my Minds. I'm on Minds a lot. I like the community there. Please join Minds. It's social media but fixed. Also, I've actually been making a little bit of money from Minds. Not a lot, but it's kind of fun that they do reward people. And I'm reinvesting some of it into. I'm going to get like Minds Pro at some point when I get enough of their Minds tokens for that.
So just need to quickly go through some of the super chats that I'll have to read out. So Mr. Gently Benevolent with the $2 Australian. Head to Morcar for quality postal service content. Yes. Cup of tea, Pat. Namu Z with 10 Canadian dollars, some shekels. Always weird to hear about Chris Chan. He used to autist post in an adult Yahoo group I frequented in 99/2000. Didn't hear about him again for years. Wow, so you were interacting with him pre-Sonichu from the sounds of things.
Ooh, that's yeah, you should write that shit down, what you remember.
Yeah.
That's some prehistory.
That is pre-Christory. And Namized again with the 5 Canadian dollars. Dan Schneider is the embodiment of the tonight's episode, the writer's barely disguised fetish meme.
That's very much true.
And finally, William Forge with 2 New Zealand dollars. Hey Rose, do you still talk to Miss London? I haven't spoke to her in ages. As far as I'm aware, we're still on good terms. I still like her. So Yeah, I think we're on good terms. Just before I go, because I'm not shilling, I don't have any videos to shill this week because content is coming at some point. But in the meantime, people should check out Charity River's channel because he put up a good video on like the kind of zoo files and stuff that have been going on. So go check that out. Anyway, the Nintendo Direct is now starting. I've got a feeling they're about to announce a Smash Brothers character. I'm a massive loser, so I need to check it out. So thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you all next time. Bye.
See you all soon.